awkward.
Yeah, and then he said, "I'm not joking."
Right.
All right, so real quick, the guy who asked the question has an odd. So he did middays in Kansas City when I did afternoons, and when he left to go to Dallas, the person who replaced him doing the midday show is Danny Parkins, who now does Breakfast Ball. Wow. So I've known Sean for a long time, and he's done this interview with Jerry for a long time.
But that's good. There's an opening because it sounds like.
Okay. So, but here's the thing. So he doesn't work for the Cowboys. He works for the Cowboys flagship that is a partnership. So Jerry's saying that's a weird spot because Jerry technically can't fire him, but he probably can. You know what I like? He can't. He's not Jerry's boss. Jerry's not his boss. But if Jerry's like, I won't ever come on your radio station again, it's probably bad for Sean. So that's a real power move by Jerry that he could have pulled at any time. And I've listened to a lot of these interviews. They're all, when the Cowboys are doing poorly, they're not combative, but they ask real questions. It's not like a fluff piece thing. Jerry reacted more dramatically than I've ever heard him react to this weekly interview. And it's because Jerry is on tilt.
That's right.
Jerry just saw the worst loss he has ever seen in his building since he owned the team. Jerry also, a couple weeks ago, Brew, what did he say? Give me all the blame. Yep. I want all the blame. And all because Jerry didn't think there was going to be that much blame to go around. And you know a guy's on tilt in anything, whether it's a marriage, a business, a sport, when they're like, hey, what about that awesome thing I did 30 years ago? Why don't I have credit for that? Like, where's that? Like, then you know things are going poorly. And that's the spot Jerry has found himself in. And so, listen, I think Sean and RJ will be fine. They've done a great job there for a very long time. But I think the story here is the owner is wildly frustrated and, more importantly, shocked. I think he is shocked that this team keeps getting their teeth kicked in front of him, and that it happened in his building is, not helpful, or on his birthday, is not helpful.
I think the interview was emblematic of one of the major problems with Jerry Jones. He thinks he knows jobs that he doesn't know. And he's got enough power and money to get himself in those jobs. So, number one, he said, that's not your job to ask questions. That's exactly their job. And like you said, they weren't rude about it. You got to ask them, well, this offseason, you guys didn't make any moves. That's just a regular question a journalist should ask. So Jerry's saying that's not your job. He's totally wrong about that. That's exactly what they should do. Number two, he thinks he knows how to be a GM. And he doesn't. And I get it that he was technically the general manager back when they won those Super Bowls when he first bought the team. But Jimmy Johnson was running player personnel. And he won, even when he got rid of Jimmy as coach, they won that last Super Bowl with Barry Switzer with Jimmy's guys. Ever since Jimmy's been gone and Jerry's been running the personnel, they've been okay, but they haven't gotten to a championship game in the conference. And I think a lot of the credit for drafting goes to Stephen Jones, his son. So I don't think he knows that job. And thirdly, face of the franchise job. What other franchise has the owner as the face of the franchise? I can't think of it since George Steinbrenner.
All the fans.
The whole thing. Right. Like Clark Hunt's not the face of the franchise. Whoever Wick Grossbeck wasn't the face of the Celtics. I'm talking about the teams that win, the owners in the background. But Jerry doing these interviews twice, 3 times a week, it's ridiculous. And now, Coach, this interview is going to become a distraction in the building and the franchise that's going to take their attention off the main thing, which is improving that football team.
Yeah, Jerry did something that every head coach and GM has always wanted to do, is be able to clap back at the people that are asking those questions, but there's no owner in the league that wouldn't then reprimand the head coach or GM for doing that.
Ask Nick Sirianni
so he's in that position. And the other thing is, this isn't something that's being done to Jerry. This is something that Jerry has done to himself. He decided to embrace this role, and when you embrace these roles and have that power, with that comes the criticism that is bestowed upon your failures, and you have to eat it if you want that spot.
They're 3-3. That's like all 3-3s are not equal. That was my biggest takeaway.
It's a bad 3-3.
That's what I mean. It's like, hey, we didn't have Micah, we didn't have DeMarcus Lawrence. We're a little bit banged up. We're 3-3 right now. We go get those guys back. We're gonna be on the road. Next thing you know, trying to fire the hosts of the show. A little rough. All right, we have more press conference news. Cowboys have lost 4 straight games at home. Each one they've fallen behind by a lot, and a lot quickly. Some would say they wilt under mounting pressure. Some would say they're soft. Mike McCarthy says, watch your tongue, sir. Just split hairs, Coach, but played faster with more confidence. They got after it.
Well, I actually agree with him. I think when you start using the term soft with professional football players, those are borderline fighting words.
Yeah, I knew it.
That's as big an insult as you can have in terms of.
But they wouldn't fight.
But the other point that he's making is, and I think it's valid, is Detroit is playing a lot faster than Dallas was, and usually when you're not playing fast, there's indecisiveness in terms of what your responsibilities are or how you're supposed to fit or any of those things, and that will give the illusion of being soft. And I'd say the other thing is when you are a pass-first team, it's hard to look aggressive. You're always sitting back. You're always sitting back. You're always sitting back, and they don't run the ball at all, really, and they're one-dimensional. So it's going to consistently look like that because that's the nature of being a pass-first team.
Just real quick.
Like
if the reporter, instead of calling them soft, had said they were break dancers, would that have made it soften the blow a bit?
I think
you want to air it out.
Right. No, I mean, because here's the thing.
I think saying it in a press conference versus on it.
No, can I just real quick? This is one of those things where it sometimes feels, obviously, no NFL team is soft compared to football teams in any other league. Civilians, you know what I mean? Regular people on the street.
Yeah, they're not soft.
Right, of course. I do think if this is in the same bucket of if you're like, man, Deshaun Watson stinks, and someone replies is like, oh, really? Why don't you and him go get in a throwing contest? And Deshaun right now, I'd give Brew a shot. But in general, yes, we know we're comparing you within the league. And the Cowboys, as much as I have defended them, as soft as an NFL team can look, they looked it on Sunday, right? Like, even if they, so I don't think it's only fighting words, in my opinion, if you willfully ignore the connotation of you are just being judged against other NFL teams.
Right.
And so, like, we're not saying.
People go into your building.
Yeah.
And here's the stats.
Right.
You're 0-4 in your last 4 games, and you've lost by a combined 82 points.
And you get punched in the mouth in the first half every time.
Yeah. And to the point where the Lions are, and I don't ever like to, I don't like demonstrative acts for the sake of being demonstrative, usually. But once the Lions start running hooking ladders on you and throwing the ball off.
Oh, you think they should have started a fight?
Not a fight, but just a little. Not a fight.
The
a little something.
Disrespect.
A little something.
You think they do that to Baltimore, Kansas City, San Francisco?
Well, they can't.
No.
That's the problem.
Right, because they're not soft.
But that is one of the realities of pro football is if you don't like it, you better do something about it.
Smack the ball.
That's what I'm saying.
Because the other team will keep doing it.
Exactly, and the Cowboys did nothing. Look, they're not soft. They're Sherman soft. Silly putty soft. Cotton candy soft. Soft.
He's lost his mind, man.
Like Eddie Murphy said.
We know, bro. We know.
Again, relatively speaking.
Relatively speaking.
You know what's tough, Coach? You know this. Running the football. They can't. You know what's tough? Stopping the run.
Why are
they
you
can't.
flexing?
You know what's tough? Protecting your home turf. They can't. Somebody went in there and threw passes to offensive linemen. They had offensive linemen lined up like wide receivers out on the. I mean, they're clowning you. And like you said, you got to start a fight.
Well, not a fight.
You got to do something. You got to do something.
Just
Wild
a little something. I don't know what's on the menu of reactions. If there is a category called little something, that's what I would do. Just stand up or just
can I
kick
just
the
devil's
ball.
advocate for a moment?
Go.
Maybe Mike is just the most important player in the whole league. Maybe that's
Micah?
what Micah sets the tone.
I mean, he's not soft.
Right,
You know
Micah
that.
gives them an edge, and that it would have been not they would have won, but they wouldn't have been clowned like that if Micah and DeMarcus
Maybe
Lawrence
try running the ball at either 28th and rushing attempts.
How are you going to run it without Tony Pollard?
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.